Welcome to r/Entitled People, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them, and they should get what they want. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. And today we have 4 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story. Entitled barefoot customer was escorted out by police in handcuffs. The second story. How a lack of respect affects the number of employees. The third story. I was fired because the customer is always right. The fourth story. The boss fired one employee and lost almost all the others immediately afterwards. The first story is Life Pro Tip. Don't repeatedly dial emergency numbers from a hotel room and creep out the desk agent if you're out on bond, committed other crimes but don't want to be arrested again. It was a saga of a day with this guy and other guests, but I'll try to make this as short as I can. I came in this morning, booted up the desk computer, and find 2 notifications from our phone system saying a guest had dialed emergency. Once late last night and earlier this morning. Both times while the office was closed and the hotel wasn't staffed. Hours currently limited because we're a small hotel trying to stay afloat in the whole COVID situation. I contacted the guest, confirmed he's okay, he didn't receive or need assistance, but it felt funny last night and couldn't reach reception. Yes, I told him what our current hours were when he checked in. I reconfirm he's okay, doesn't need assistance, and then when he asks about food, I tell him we don't have meal service or a cafe here, but there's convenience stores and takeaways nearby, or he can get a food order delivered. All is then well until he phones the front desk at 2:30 in the afternoon. He wants food and drinks. Again, I explain we can't provide food to him, but go over the other options again. He wants the hotel, i.e. me, to help get me food. I need it brought to the room. Again, I can't do it. I'm here alone and I can't leave the hotel unattended during open hours to run around playing gopher for one guest. He asks again as though rephrasing the request would get him a different answer. Then again, we're talking in circles. Though he seems to understand my answers because about 15 minutes into this call, he gets irritated and tells me I'm talking in circles and not helping him. I tell him he's leading the conversation, I'm simply answering his questions and giving options as best as I can. Is it my fault he doesn't like the answers? He tells me he can't order a food delivery because his phone doesn't work. I offer him a charger, but he has one. His SIM is the problem. Yes, I gave him our Wi-Fi on check-in too. Then he complains about the in-room phone not working properly. It does work. He dialed out to phone me at the front desk from an external line. He tells me he tested the phone last night and it wasn't working, so I even rang emergency to test the phone. I immediately tell him to call any number but emergency to test the phone. Only dial 000 if it was genuinely an emergency. And I asked again if he needed any medical assistance. Still a firm no. He asked to speak to someone else. He already knows I'm here on my own, but he wants the manager anyway, because not to complain about you, but the service here is really bad. He then says he wants to pack his stuff in his bag so he can go out to buy food, but he can't pick things up off the floor to put into his bag, so can I come into the room to pack his bags for him? Hard no on that one, and I'm getting nervous that this guy keeps making excuses to try to get me to come to his room, and knows I'm here alone. Doh. Then he wants the manager again. I tell him I can try to contact the manager, but it's his day off, so I might not be able to reach him. No, I can't give you the manager's personal mobile phone number, but again, I can try to call him and put him through to the room. Normally, I wouldn't ask the manager to speak to a guest on a Sunday, but I'm getting nervous being alone at work with this guy in the building. Guest then tells me that he's got depression and mental issues, but he doesn't want assistance except to call emergency to ask them to assess my mental issues, because I'm clearly not understanding him. There was a bunch of other stuff too, and the whole call went for 35 minutes. The guy would not let me in the call, so I just had to hang up on him to phone the manager. Not 10 seconds after I ended the call, I get another notification he's dialed 000. While I'm talking to the manager, I get a 4th emergency call notification. I put the manager through to the guest, and the manager calls me back 5 minutes later and tells me he's concerned about this guy too, and to call the cops for a welfare check because the guy seems unstable and incoherent. Cops arrive, take his details off the ID from check-in and radio in to check up on the guy before going to the room. He's on bail, is also wanted for outstanding theft charges, and has a violence warning due to past convictions. They tell me he's getting arrested today, and ask for a key to the room in case he doesn't willingly open the door. I oblige with a duplicate room key, but advise we have physical privacy latches as well. 15 minutes later, in total silence, the 3 cops walk the barefoot and handcuffed fellow out of the front door. One officer runs back to the desk, drops the key and tells me his SH is still in the room and the door's open. I can't get it to lock. Then runs off after her colleagues. I go up to secure the room and it's a huge mess. Furniture has been moved, the bed stripped and bedding piled on the floor with his stuff amongst it. The decor items have been taken off the wall and moved, but other than some hopefully water spills on the carpet, it doesn't look like there's any actual damage. I feel sorry for him and the mental health issues he's suffering, but I have no idea what he's capable of, or what could have happened if I'd gone to his room, and I'm so very glad I didn't find out. Worth repeating, LPT, don't mess with phoning emergency numbers, and try to keep a lower profile if you're on bail and have committed more offenses but don't want to get arrested again. The second story is, my boss disrespected me. Little did they know that I had a job offer in my inbox. My boss is demanding and will occasionally throw me under the bus or blame me for things that they overlooked. I thought it was fine, that I was their assistant and that's the way it goes sometimes. I thought I could tough it out. My job was mostly good, only occasionally bad, but it all blew up last week. My boss threw a temper tantrum like a child and stopped CCing me on emails after an issue that happened that wasn't my fault. After I realized this, I went to their office to talk about the issue, asked them why I was off their emails. They told me they were too mad to talk to me and dismissed me. I later saw my GM and my boss in a closed-door meeting with another high-ranking employee. I thought these actions pointed to me being fired or being dismissed from my team. I spoke to my GM at the end of the day and explained I needed to talk to my boss, but I felt I may need a third-party present for it. The next day in the meeting, I explained my side of the story to my GM and my boss. While I was explaining the situation, my GM's face and demeanor towards me and my boss changed completely. It was very clear to me that my boss lied to GM about the issue we had in order to put the blame on me and make themselves look better. While my boss ended up apologizing for taking me off the emails, they doubled down and told me I was reacting too slowly. I kept making a lot of mistakes, and the only way they could ensure the job could get done was if they did everything themselves, hence why they took me off emails. I went home, talked to my family about what happened, and accepted the job offer I had sitting in my inbox since Tuesday. I'll be making more money, working from home, and no longer commuting 2 hours a day. My new job won't be perfect, but why would I hang around somewhere where my manager treats me that way? I'm putting my 2 weeks notice tomorrow. Wish me luck. Edit. Thanks to all your advice, I'm no longer giving a 2-week notice. I'll be sending an email in the morning giving my resignation effective immediately, leaving my key on my laptop, and I'll be gone from the office before the first person arrives. Edit number 2. I went to the office early and put my key and laptop on the desk. Thanks to all of your great advice, I took a video stating my name, showing the date and time on my computer, showing the keys on the desk, and continued to video myself walking out the door, and showing I was locked out. I'm just saving the video on my phone. I doubt I'll need to use it. My GM and another manager I assisted both reached out to me with multiple calls and texts, saying how they don't want to lose me, that I could be moved to any other team I wanted, to just give them 2 weeks, that I was an excellent employee. I've ignored them so far. My ex-boss texted me saying good luck and they'll miss me. I'm glad that was their only attempt at communicating with me. I spent all morning feeling really anxious and like the most SH person ever. I feel guilty for leaving people with my workload and giving no notice. I'm always the one who stays late, who volunteers to help others with their workload because I love working as a team, and if I could help prevent someone staying late at work, I would always try to help. But as the hours go along, I'm starting to feel better. What's done is done. I'm moving on to better things. I'll be gaining skills in a new field, making a little bit more money, and having this new job on my resume feels like a big coup. It'll give me leverage moving forward no matter what happens. The next story is, I got fired for hitting on a 16-year-old. So I've been seeing a bunch of great stories and figured I'd post one of my serving stories. This happened about 4 years ago now, and to this day is why I would never work in a service industry ever again. At the time, I worked at a chain place. Woohoo, that day. It was pretty fun and easy money. Plenty of customers due to the fact that it's a chain and people seem to tip okay. Now, as most other servers should know, your job is practically to flirt with your customers, when they're friendly, to humanize yourself and result in better tips. Obviously, you never pass any boundaries. Don't ask for numbers, don't really insinuate you mean anything, don't do it in any sort of an inappropriate situation, in front of parents, SOs, blah blah. I was pretty notorious for getting good tips from tables of girls by simply flirting with them. A little, so I took their order, and being fairly friendly for what people would normally feel comfortable doing in my situation. Now, one day came when I got this family that came in and sat down. I could tell right away the dad was a grouchy one. When asked what each person wanted to drink, he ordered for them. The kind of guy who wants to be in charge and no one gets to do anything unless it's okayed by him. When I came back to get their food order, I noticed that the one daughter was wearing a college university. I'm changing the name sweater, which happened to be where I was currently going to college. I commented on it offhandedly. Oh nice, college, I go there too. What would you like to eat? About 5 minutes later, my manager came up to me and told me not to go back to that table. I was confused, but it was the dinner rush, so whatever. I kept serving my other tables and he was taking care of them. Shortly after that, he called me into his office and told me I was being fired. When I asked why, he told me that it was because I had been hitting on a 16-year-old girl in front of her father. I was 22 at the time. I looked at him and asked if he really believed that. to which he gave the customer is always right line. To this day, I'm still so offended by this that the few times I've gone there to eat, I still have friends that work there and I like to support my friends. I would give him looks. He would seemingly try to avoid even coming to the front of the house while I was there. I got an apology from the other manager that worked there the next time I was in, and he even offered to hire me back, which I politely declined. And the last story is, work a 13+ hour day, you're fired. This just happened to my boyfriend less than a month ago. My boyfriend was working for a flooring company for about 6 months. The owner's son asked him to do a delivery run by himself at 5 p.m. He started working at 6:45, no problem. He thought as he would get some overtime and finally fun money. Well, he had to load the truck with the skid loader, as the carpet and glue was in bulk boxes tied down, as it was overfilled. The truck he was using was a 2-wheel drive Chevy single cab. The place he had to deliver to was about an hour's drive from the shop. The route he was taking was supposed to be easy. That all changed when the main road was closed for construction. He followed the detour on a gravel road in an almost maxed out 2-wheel drive truck. He wasn't too happy about that, but fine, it's part of the job. The supposed 1-hour job took over 2 hours by the time he got through the detour and unload all the materials at the school. He starts booking it back home so I could make him dinner. I get a call about an hour later with rage in his voice I've never heard. He was locked out of the shop parking. 1, he had the work truck keys and extra materials that weren't needed. 2, he couldn't get to his car as it's behind a locked gate. He parked the work truck in the open storage next door and took the keys with him so the work truck wouldn't be stolen. He got a ride from a friend that lives in the town as we live 45 minutes away. Fast forward to Friday morning payday also. He didn't have a car to get to work. He called my dad as he works night shift, so my dad drove him 45 minutes to work and heard about what happened. He was peeved. My boyfriend made it to work on time. He said instantly the owner's son brought him in for a meeting. He yelled about the truck not being in the gate as it could have been stolen. Why didn't he clock out? Why was his car still there? He instantly fired him for those reasons. So my boyfriend left since he was out of the job. He looked at his check and was missing over 6 hours of overtime from previous weeks. So they recut a check a week later and made him drive to get it. The rest of the delivery drivers have quit since they heard what happened. Screw you, Philip and Ben. Karma. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.